Welcome to Intersectionality, Understanding Human Connection, presented by Elaine Butler, founder of Accessible Creates. So what is intersectionality? It is the interconnected nature of social categorizations such as race, class, and gender. I'll talk about more in a second. As they apply to any given individual or group, regarded as creating overlapping and independent systems of discrimination and disadvantage. It is also the acknowledgement that everyone has their own unique experiences of discrimination and oppression, and we must consider everything and anything that can marginalize people. Some examples include mental health, gender identity, gender expression, appearance, your age, your personality, your culture. So what is your cultural background? What is your nationality? What country do you live in? Hobbies, are you involved in any clubs and involved in any sports that you really like? What is your sexual orientation? Your political affiliation? Languages or language? Do you speak English, French? Your occupation? What do you do for a living? What industry do you work in? Your religion, your socioeconomic class, your location, your marital status, your education. Do you have a high school degree? Do you have a college degree? Do you have a university degree? And your ethnicity. My intersectionality include that I am Guyanese from my mom's side, I am British on my dad's side, and I am Canadian first and foremost because that is where I was born and that is my nationality. I am a life partner to Gordon, and he's also Guyanese. I went to post-secondary education in Sheridan College. I went to Sheridan College for my advanced diploma, and then I also went to get my Bachelor of Human Resources degree. Therefore, I became a human resources professional. But even within being a human resources professional, I volunteer a lot with the HRPA, which is an organization for human resources professionals. I also volunteer with the Toronto Disability Pride March, and I'm a part of the executive community as I had that lived experience, and I wanted to give back in my community, and I want to learn more in this space and give back and be involved and learn and get to know other people that are like me in this community. I think it's important to understand your intersectional identities, and it's important for me to understand my intersectional identities so I know where I want to reach out to people, and I want to make connections with people and know how I fit in this world. By knowing my own intersectional identities, I get to understand where I can make connections and where I can bring my full self to the table and where I can bring parts of myself to the table. And working, for example, when I volunteer with the HRPA, I'm connecting with other HR professionals, but I'm also bringing my experience because I'm also in the DE&I space and talking about disability, neurodiversity, accessibility, and other topics, and so I bring that to the forefront. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and it's important to highlight these. So now let's talk about you. Who are you? How does intersectionality play a role in your life? I want you to ask yourself these questions. What intersectionalities do you have? Start thinking about what identities you do have. What has been your experience with these identities? Are there any barriers that you have faced? Are you part of any communities because of your intersectional identities? What intersectionalities that you celebrate the most? Are there any that you ignore? So by understanding what intersectionalities you do have, you understand your place in the world and where you want to show up in the world. You also, when you begin to understand your experience, you understand that you've been marginalized or oppressed for any of your identities, whereas other parts of your identity would have been celebrated. For example, if you went to post-secondary education, you have your post-secondary education, but then there's other aspects that people marginalize you against. But they think it's cool that you have your post-secondary education, but that you're still facing barriers to employment and other barriers. Well, with that, so what barriers have you faced? Is it socioeconomic barriers? Is it employment barriers? Is it barriers to, getting put in these communities and, meeting other people? By understanding these, it allows you to better understand your role in the world and where you want to show up in the world, and understanding that by understanding your differences and your similarities to other people's, you begin to understand other people's similarities and differences. And at the end of the day, we all just want to connect with one another, and we all have something of value to bring to the table. And by understanding, when I was in school, I was studying human resources, but I understand that I also had more barriers to overcome than some of my classmates, and so I focused on that. It's important to understand that. And so just be you, and the world will adjust. Just by being you, you make the world a better place, and you get to connect with people, and you get to change people's lives. And in changing other people's lives, you also change your own life. Just by that one act of kindness, that one act of reaching out, you never know what the impact's going to be. And we're still in a pandemic. A lot of people are saying we're post-pandemic, but we're still very much in a pandemic. And understanding that during the pandemic, things were hard for human connection. They were all virtual. We're literally at a virtual conference right now, but it's important to make that human connection and really understand and bring yourself to the table. Understand what communities you want to be part of, and what impact ultimately do you want to leave. Do you want to, what communities do you want to impact the most? Where can you make a difference? Where do you want to make a difference? Do you even want to make a difference? Do you just want to be hanging out with your family? That's also valid. Do you want to hang out with your dog? Do you want to meet new people around the world? What do you want to do with the time you have and make that human connection with who you want to? And then compassion is a huge part of human connection. Really being compassionate for other people, even if they're like you, but even so more so if they're not like you and they are different. Just showing the human compassion, and that, hey, I see that you are different from me, but that doesn't mean that I still can't treat you with equally, and that because at the end of the day we all just want respect. And so with that, again, I quote Maya Angelou a lot, but I think it really pertains to human connection. And I've learned that people forget what you said, people forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I think that's at the root of human connection. When we treat people and we use our feelings and we use our emotions instead of just logic, when we emote and when we communicate, being authentic, using empathy, using kindness, all these things, we get to make a stronger human connection. Thank you.